forgot to turn on the twinkle lights. Just a sec. Gotta have the twinkle lights. There we go. Twinkle lights are on. It is Menopause Monday. I am in one of my new pink shirts. Some others have arrived, so I will show them to you. Sorry, that's such a mom right there. I will show them to you probably in the next live stream. So, Menopause Monday, and specifically today we are talking about forced menopause and the things that your doctors just don't tell you. Oh my God, I need to do my eyebrows. Holy Lord. Ugh. That's the only problem with having like these big bright lights. You're going to see all that shit. Hi, Holly. Thanks so much for being here. Maybe that's something we can do together during my live stream tomorrow. We can like do eyebrows. That's a good idea. Let's do that because yikes. Hello, Renee. Hello, Melinda. Thank you for being here. So apologies for last night, my darlings, my obsessions. I took you, hi, Judy. I took you live stream with me to go get Olivia, and it apparently just like, I don't know, it showed me that it was still working, but it wasn't. Very strange. Hi, Shatika. Hi, Pamela. Oh, I'm glad you're home from work now, Renee. That's wonderful. So, so apologies about that, but now we know. We know. Maybe if we were to start the live stream out and about, maybe that would work better. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Judy, I don't know what happened there because on my end, it was still going. Yeah, it was really weird. Oh, Vicky, I am on that. Thank you. Renee, I don't think it was the phone. I think it was because I went from Wi-Fi to data but didn't turn off the Wi-Fi until like the first stoplight. And so it was like, I don't know. Anyway, hi Rhonda. Thanks so much for being here. Yeah, it's a bummer, but all right, here we go. All right, we are going to subscribers only in 3, 2, and there we go. Thank you so much for the reminder, Vicky. A word of warning, disclaimer, some info. You're going to hear a lot of this shit. Remember that smoke that I noticed in the sky the other night? Oh my God. Oh my God. Alyssa, who's a fellow Utahn, had an idea of what fire it might be, and maybe it is. Good Lord, the smoke is terrible. And we all know I was already struggling with my allergies just coming back to Utah. I'm just so absolutely, definitely allergic to Utah. But I was struggling, and then now with all this smoke, oh my God. So there's a lot of this. Maybe I'll have one of the kids run up and grab me a couple of lozenges or something. But anyhow, so today it is Menopause Monday. Phyllis, Kitty is upstairs. She wants desperately to go outside, but somehow, I don't know, this is the second time this has happened, or maybe the third. At least the third. Yeah, I think so. She has lost her collar with her identification information and all of that. And so poor thing is having to stay in the house. So yeah, she is frustrated, but she's in the girls' bedroom. So we might see her. She might come and hang out with us. But yeah, she doesn't have her collar. She is very put out, put out for not being put out. She's frustrated. She's very frustrated. Anyway, okay. We are talking about menopause, but specifically tonight on this Menopause Monday, we are talking about forced menopause. Now, obviously, some of the things with forced menopause and natural menopause are going to kind of parallel and coincide, and some of them are going to be the same, and then others are going to be completely different. And that's reality. But that the thing that we're doing here is we're sharing our stories, we're talking about it, we're getting different perspectives and different lived experiences, and trying to understand things and maybe get some information. I've got the laptop queued up. No, I still am not able to broadcast my screen, but we have, something to get some information from if we need it. Hello, Renee. Thanks for being here. So one of the main issues with forced menopause that I want to talk about, and this is one of those things that none of my doctors told me. I had three different gynecologists. I had, of course, my family practitioner, and through the years of getting the procedures, that eventually culminated in a full hysterectomy, thus forced menopause, I had at least two different family practice doctors. And so none of them told me that this was a possibility. And that is why we're going to talk about it. Sorry, I really should have, but anyway, I chose to hang out and watch a guy I've watched for a long, long time, him and his wife. In the beginning, it was just him, but now it's him and his wife. They do horror movie reviews. It's called Sinister Cinema Reviews. He's a lot of fun. I've been following him forever. And I chose to hang out and watch more of his videos instead of doing my hair. So apologies. Anyway, there's several things that they don't tell you. Okay. Why? Why don't they tell you? I don't know. Ask them. But my goal is to share the information, share my own experience, the good, the bad, everything in between, to hopefully, the big goal is to give some information to some other ladies out there who are heading in this direction for whatever reason and want to know what they're not being told. So, and yeah, to provide some support, So, okay. The biggest thing, there's so many, like I said, there's so many. God, I was eating some tomatoes. Okay. I think we're okay. So the biggest one, and it's not even the biggest one, but it's the one that we're going to focus on. And then maybe we'll hit up some of the others tonight, but it's what we were talking about yesterday. I think it was yesterday, that you can still have PMS even after forced menopause. What is forced menopause? That means all of your girl parts are gone. So that means your uterus, your cervix, your tubes, your ovaries, all of that. There might be one other piece that I'm missing, but they're all gone, including ovaries. The ovaries got to be gone too, okay? When that happens, when all those pieces are gone, you are in menopause. Welcome. Again, I apologize. There is smoke. It's going to be what it's going to be. So that is forced menopause. Can it happen in other ways? Yes. I think Judy said in the comments that chemotherapy did that to her. Now, I am not an expert on any of other avenues, okay? But that's why we have other people in the comments sharing their stories, and I find that our community is so incredibly generous with this kind of information that a lot of people like to keep behind a pink door. It's taboo. You don't talk about that kind of stuff, and nobody educates you on what's coming with menopause. You get a class in school, or at least, one day, maybe two, of sex education, right? And so you learn that, you're going to start bleeding, you're going to start menstruating, there's going to be that kind of thing. But they don't ever teach you about menopause. And so I labored under the absolute delusion, that menopause was this glorious thing where all that suffering ended. Full stop. That's it. That's all. That's all. I didn't know, one, that natural menopause can take 5 to 15 years to actually happen. beginning with perimenopause and all the fun that comes with that, which I have no experience with. I can't speak to that, but I can do some research, and then we can invite other of our ladies to chime in on that. And we can definitely do that, and it would absolutely be valuable, I'm sure. But I can only speak to forced menopause because that's what I've experienced. But what I didn't know, my naivete will show, and just lack of education in it. It's just not a thing that people talk about or tell you, and there's no like structured systemic education provided for women that here's what's going to happen. So I didn't know that it's not just a cessation of your menstrual cycle. It's not just, all right, Aunt Flo has left the building. Yeah, let's live. No, goddamn, no. There's a million other things that come with it. And it, depending on who you are, you're going to experience some, all, none. We don't know. You don't know till you get there. Okay. So, so I want to talk about that, and I want to give other ladies and young women and more seasoned women an idea of what they're heading into. Not that we're going to do the horror stories that you get when you get pregnant and everyone's like, oh my God, this and that. And da-da. No, we're going to share the information through stories and experiences, medical data, whatever. So, PMS. So I was talking about in our live stream yesterday that I was losing my mind and was like, what the hell is going on? I am not able to pull myself out of this slump, and I'm just in this fog, and could not pull out of it, and was like, what is going on? And then the other ladies in my house experienced, Aunt Flo came to knocking on the door, and I'm like, oh my God, there it is. Yes, you can still have PMS. Absolutely. Now, I am 2 years into forced menopause, and I had my first, my partial hysterectomy, I believe it's been 6 years ago, probably. But now, full forced menopause, that started 2 years ago. So in the beginning, I still had monthly cycles, if you will, of getting the PMS and everything that comes with it. And that was monthly. And not only that, it gets worse. Again, I don't want to do this just horror story, but I also want to bring some levity, some brevity, some lightness to it, okay? And yeah, sometimes, and honesty, just straight up honesty. I'm not going to go, I'm not going to exaggerate it, even though I am one that exaggerates, but I'm not going to with this. It's just going to be my honest experience. I don't need to exaggerate some things, and I'm not going to downplay or rose color anything. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to give you the information, okay, as best I know it, and mostly based on my own experience, if it's something I have experienced. So in the genesis of my forced menopause experience, monthly. Or semi-monthly, or twice monthly, sometimes thrice monthly, I still went through a cycle. And that actually, I wasn't expecting to still have anything, but it was still basically in concert with what I had experienced pre-menopause. Because I had the wackiest cycles, all over the place, all kinds of nonsense, and they would come and go whenever they felt like it. I was never regular. Come to find out later, I actually was riddled with endometriosis and didn't know until the pain was so overwhelming, and then we ended up finding all of it and getting it all cleaned out during my full hysterectomy. And it could absolutely have contributed to the horror that was my menstrual cycle. So entering into forced menopause, I still had fairly often, I'm not gonna say regular, because they weren't on any kind of calendar or cycle. They were doing their own damn thing. It was a circus, and they're an absolute circus, burning down circus. But I did still have what I would consider a menstrual cycle, minus the blood. The part where it gets worse. This I almost forgot. Cramps. What? Cramps? How is this possible? Another thing I wasn't warned about. I was not warned about either of these things, that there could be still something akin to a menstrual cycle and cramps. When it started, the first time that I was feeling the cramps, I was like scared, to be honest. I actually was scared because yet another reason that I'm sharing all of this very personal information, going against some taboos and cultural norms to share all this shit, because I don't want you to be scared. You don't need to be scared. We can figure it out. There is information. There's a good chance that what you are experiencing, though miserable or frustrating or painful, is absolutely normal. You just didn't know. You just weren't warned about it. So anyway, I start having cramps and I'm like, wait, what is this? I've had a full hysterectomy. I'm in forced menopause. How am I having cramps? So I go and visit my doctor and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I thought you took all my bits out. What happened? Did I ruin something? Are there internal stitches of some kind that have broken? Is there whatever? And he said, well, we'll do an ultrasound for you, if you want, because to make you feel better, to see what's going on. And of course, we always want to check things and make sure, blah, blah, blah. But actually, you still get cramps. I'm like, what do you mean I still get cramps? I don't even have a uterus. What's cramping? What are you talking about? Where would cramps come from? Well, the hormones that cause your cramping, that cause your uterus to cramp, to let go of its inner lining every month, they're still happening. So for one, it takes a while after you go into forced menopause for all of those hormones and everything to work their way out of your system that were still, doing their thing all the time. But also you have other glands that are still producing hormones. Now, I'm not saying that you are going to get cramps 10 years after forced menopause. I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm not saying that at all. Okay. Yeah, Vicky, not everyone is going to get everything. Some of us are just the lucky ones that experience a bunch of it. And so we want to make sure that everyone out there knows this is a potential. On the medication commercials, first it's everyone dancing and playing guitar and having a picnic. But then at the end, they're like, you may experience and list all these horrific things. The majority of people don't experience those things. But enough people did that they have to list them. And it just so happens that I generally will experience most of the shit that most people don't. All those wacky things that are possible, but rare side effects, I've experienced a lot of those. And I know there's plenty of other women who have and who will. So we want to share all the info, all the different flavors of experiences, and then the generalities, the things that are kind of an average experience that happened to most everybody. But then also be aware of these other things that might creep up and you're like, I don't know what this is. Okay, so anyway, I don't have the cramps anymore, knock on wood, okay? It's been some time since I've had those, and that's wonderful. Wonderful. Those specific cramps. I do have the endometriosis has grown back. Yes, that is another thing that can absolutely grow back. Another thing that also I did not know. But we'll get into that more in a minute. So cramps. What is actually happening? Like I said, those hormones and everything that have been being produced by your body since you were 10 or 12 or 14, they're still doing their thing. And it takes some time for all of those systems to shut down, for those things to clear out, whatever. I don't have medical terminology for it. I just look at it like a machine. So it's going to take time for all of that to, shut on down. But then you also have other hormones coming from other places in your body that are still keeping some of those old systems up and running. I like to think of them as like your backup system, the generator that kicks the light on at the hospital when something goes crazy so that you still have some systems running. But these systems, they're kicking on as emergency systems not knowing that you don't want them anymore. Okay. They're just doing their job, guys. They're doing their job. So what is actually cramping? Well, it's your muscles and your guts and whatever else is in that place. You still have all kinds of tissue and organs and everything down in there, and they can cramp. I just didn't know. I didn't know until it was happening. So if you go through forced menopause and then you start feeling some really awful cramping and you're like, oh no, I've lifted something too heavy, or I've twisted or turned or had sex or did this or did that, and oh no, maybe I ripped something in there, what have I done? Unless you start bleeding, the pain just gets excruciating, you get a fever, whatever, most likely it's just cramps. Now, always consult your doctor. I am not a medical professional of any kind. I've just been in and out of hospitals way more times than I can possibly say, and have had more procedures and lost more organs than I, care to think about sometimes. But anyway, always consult your doctor. If you are worried, go see your doctor. Always go see your doctor. Get that ultrasound or whatever. Have them do a looky-loo in there, and just to make sure, just to rule out any other problems that might be happening, especially, like I said, if there is some kind of discharge, if there's blood, if there's fever, if there's nausea, whatever, okay? So at least like that first time that you get those cramps, go see them. Go see what's going on. I'm not saying go to the ER unless there's the blood and the fever, whatever, but check in with your doctor and say, hey, what's happening here? What's going on? But there's a very good chance that it's just leftover cramps. It's just that body's backup system producing cramps as it has done for all of these years. And it sucks, but what was recommended most to me was naproxen sodium. You can also do Pamprin, Midol, that kind of thing. But for postmenopausal cramps, what my doctor recommended, said, yeah, if you still have leftover Midol or Pamprin, go ahead and use that. It might work, but it works a little differently because it's acting on different kind of systems and different existing organs, right? Because you don't have those anymore. So it might still help, but if it doesn't, then pick up some naproxen sodium. And it did. It worked. I believe that's what's in... Is that what's in Advil? It might be what's in Advil. Hi, Kathy. I'm so glad you can be here. In fact, I'm going to look that up. And again, apologies. No, I don't have the computer. I'm not able to share my screen yet. We'll get there. Anyhow, and in fact, that's another thing that I've been working on. But anyway... what is in Advil? Okay, I'm going to pull that up. Let's see. Oh, okay. No, not Advil, Aleve. Okay, good to know. All right. Hi, Bonnie. Thanks so much for being here. So, okay, it's Aleve, not Advil. Aleve is the one that has naproxen sodium, but it doesn't have to be the name brand Aleve. You can just pick up some naproxen sodium, and that is the job that it does. Okay, and it does. It did for me. Absolutely, it worked very well with those cramps. For the first year. After forced menopause, after complete and total hysterectomy, meaning no more ovaries. There is some confusion about the definition of a hysterectomy lately when I've been talking to different people. A full hysterectomy, what we are talking about is everything is gone. If you still have ovaries, it's not going to apply. It's just not going to apply. because you're still producing all of your hormones, all of that's still happening. You are not in menopause, okay? Full hysterectomy means nothing is left. Nothing at all. It's all gone. Now, when you have a partial hysterectomy, I should mention this. When you have a partial hysterectomy, you can and likely will still experience some cramps after your uterus is gone. And again, you're going to have that question like, okay, but I don't have a uterus. Why am I still getting cramping? This doesn't make sense. Well, in that case, you still have ovaries. They're still sending out your monthly hormones. You're still going to have a cycle. If you ever had like a regular 28-day cycle, there's a good chance, not a guarantee, that you are still going to have that ovulation, that menstrual cycle. And cramps. Not guaranteed that those are going to happen forever, but you can still have cramps because your body is still producing. The systems they're still in place. The machine is gone, but the systems that were supporting it are still there, and they're still doing their job, and they don't know any better. They don't know. They weren't informed that the uterus got taken out. So they're just showing up, punching their time clock, and doing their job. Talk to your doctor about it. Again, Aleve, naproxen sodium can help with that. But also, even when it's complete and total hysterectomy, every single piece is gone. No uterus, no cervix, no tubes, no ovaries. All of it is gone. You can still have cramps. Now, hallelujah, gratefully, mine did not last past a year. It was like, okay, well, we figured it out, things got sorted out, and now we're okay. Bonnie, you got here right after I was mentioning that. So in talking to my doctor, he said, yes, if you still have, if you have leftover Midol or Pamperin, go ahead and use it. But he recommended Aleve or naproxen sodium for full hysterectomy, post forced menopause cramps. Okay. So if you still have ovaries and you're getting the cramps, the Midol and the Pamperin, I would say, are your go-to because you're still dealing with that hormonal system. But after forced menopause, you don't have ovaries. And so it's other glands in your body that are producing hormones. And it's a different situation. And it isn't, obviously it's not a uterus that's cramping. It's your guts. It's your muscles. It's, it's other tissues. Okay. And so because of that, just as with any muscle cramp that's happening in your body, not a uterus, muscle cramps, Aleve is going to help. And I did find in my own experience, which is what we're basing most of this on, is my lived experience, Aleve worked beautifully. And I didn't get name brand Aleve. I got naproxen sodium. So, okay. What else can happen post forced menopause? Well, a lot of things. One, a great and marvelous relief. Such a marvelous relief. Which can also happen with a partial hysterectomy. There can come so much relief. Number one, you're not bleeding anymore. Hallelujah. There is no uterus, therefore no uterine lining, therefore none of that monthly flow, none of that carnage, and also, no more pregnancy, no more pregnancy scares, no more worries about anything going wrong or unplanned. It is all gone. Gone. And for people like me who had horrific pregnancy related situations, many miscarriages, so many miscarriages, and getting pregnant while on several different kinds, not all at the same time, but with almost every type of birth control, still getting pregnant, but then of course not carrying. It was such a relief. It was such a wonderful relief having that uterus gone. Not having that horrible heavy flow every month or sometimes twice a month that was absolutely just debilitating. and where I would need, iron pills and, IVs sometimes and all of that. Don't miss that at all. And having had all of the children that I had hoped to have, and actually more than I'd hoped to ever have, I no longer had a need for those parts. But what I didn't know, what I didn't understand, and a lot of this is my own fault for not doing my due diligence, but I also cannot help but share some of the blame with my healthcare professionals who did not talk to me about all of the ramifications and the consequences that come with partial hysterectomy and then a full and complete total hysterectomy, forced menopause. There was so much that I feel like I wasn't told or didn't have the foresight to look up, to look into. So would I still have done it? Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. There is no question. I still would have, yes, absolutely would have done it. But it would have been great to know. And for some people, maybe you wouldn't have. For instance, if your main purpose for getting the hysterectomy is endometriosis, well, guess what? You can still have endometriosis even after a full and complete hysterectomy. The endometriosis can still grow back. Mine has. It is back. Okay. So if that's your main reason, then I would say no, don't do it. Go and get the exploratory surgery, have all of the existing visible endometriosis removed, get on some kind of medication or hormones or whatever, other options instead of this life-altering procedure with, lots of inherent risks. And it is a major surgery. So if your reason is just endometriosis and the horror that is endometriosis, no, I personally, would not recommend it as a cure because it's not a cure. Now, I should clarify, if you have endometriosis and you get a full hysterectomy, is it a guarantee that your endometriosis will grow back? No, absolutely not. I have no guarantees other than once you have a full hysterectomy, you're not having any more kids. That I can guarantee. Put that in writing, take it to the bank, carve it into stone. You're not having any more babies. So there's that. That's a guarantee that we have. But for endometriosis, no, there's no guarantee that either is going to happen. But it could. And that should be taken into account. That should be part of your thought process, which can be really hard to do when you're in so much pain. You can't eat, you can't process food, you can't take a shit, you can't do all that without horrific pain because of endometriosis, because your guts are all stuck together. And those guts, they want to be moving. Have you ever seen a video of what it looks like inside your belly when your guts are just living their life, doing their thing? Stuff's moving all the time. It's moving. It is constantly moving. Well, when all of that is cemented together with endometriosis, the pain is unreal. It is unbelievable. So it's hard to think clearly, and that I absolutely understand. I understand. And I empathize, and I am so sorry. Okay? But if at all possible, take a minute and think about the life-altering procedure that you're considering. And if it is for endometriosis only, there might be other options. And so I would consult with several professionals, several. People, they'll say, well, get a second opinion. No, on this, get several, however many your insurance will allow. Get several different opinions. Research other options. Again, this is for endometriosis only. Now, there are medications and there are other things that can be done, but what I have been told by my gynecologist that actually did the procedure and his physician's assistant, I've seen both of them, is that the only way to actually get rid of endometriosis right now at this time in the year of our Lord 2025 is to actually go in and scrape it out. Now, will there at some point be lasers and God knows what else that can zzz, and it all just, comes out in your waist? Probably. If we ever get like women in charge of the world, then yes, that will happen. But if things remain, the status quo such as it is now, no, that will never happen. No. But anyhow, explore other options. Get lots of other opinions and seek other counsel before going into that. If, however, you have other things where your uterus, if it gets breathed on wrong, you get pregnant, and that's not something you want to be, and you've tried every freaking birth control, and you're still getting pregnant, and then, of course, miscarrying because you still have all those birth control hormones and whatever going on inside you, and so they are not conducive to life in your uterus, yeah, this is the way. It doesn't mean that you need to get a full hysterectomy and go into forced menopause. Absolutely not. But definitely get that uterus out if you can, find someone to help you get it done. There is a resource list available online, and I need to look it up. I don't remember. There was a woman on TikTok, a gynecologist, female gynecologist on TikTok, absolutely delightful woman and doctor, who has been compiling a list of healthcare providers, specifically gynecologists, surgeons, who will do a hysterectomy without forcing you to go through months and years of hoops and nonsense. Because we're in a different time right now. And we'll talk more about that another time. That is not what this conversation is. Not exactly, anyway. But she is compiling a list of doctors across the United States who will provide whether full or partial hysterectomies without the myriad ridiculous, insane hoops that women are normally forced to jump through, including one, which is this and is absolutely asinine. Okay, Renee, you put it right there. There is a huge one that is so ridiculous, so misogynistic, so 1955, but we have to discuss it. This is important. There are doctors, surgeons, gynecologists who will ask you, what does your husband think? Now, to be fair, you and your spouse should discuss major procedures. You can die. I mean, you can die giving birth. We all know this. But you can die going into any major surgery, going under in general anesthesia. That is a risk. You have to sign a paper. There's actually sometimes several papers. But you have to acknowledge and sign to all of the risks of the things that might happen going into a major surgery where they're literally removing guts, pieces of, like not guts, but what I mean is stuff in your stomach cavity, in here. They're taking stuff out. Okay. You can die. Absolutely. But you can also die in childbirth. You can also die in miscarriage. All the glories and fun of being a woman and having a uterus. But there are many who will still say, what does your husband say? What does your husband think? Yes, you should discuss it with your partner. Absolutely, you should discuss it. Not for the purpose of permission or any bullshit like that, because they're not the one bleeding. They're not the one risking dying. No. No. But you should discuss, well, this is a huge potential risk for our family. And if you've got 7 kids at home, all right, your husband might be like, I don't know, maybe we should explore like a vasectomy if he's a stand-up guy, or other options, because I don't know what I'm going to do with 7 kids if you're gone. Don't know if I can handle that all by myself. That's hard for anybody to handle 7 kids all on their own and be the sole provider. Have people done it? Yes, but it's difficult, right? So that is something you should discuss. If something were to go wrong with this, what would happen? Who would take care of, and what would, and all of those kinds of things. But not when it comes to permission. That's bullshit. That is archaic. That is wrong. It's just wrong. I have barely just the modicum, just the tiniest little bit of patience for the world anymore. It's your body. It's your life. Yours. Yours is the one at risk. Anyway. Hello, Halikanan. Thank you so much for being here. Now, if you encounter that kind of gynecologist that says, what does your husband think? I would say, find a different doctor. Unless, of course, you want to challenge them. And if you're feeling up to that and you're feeling assertive, go ahead and say, why? Why? He doesn't have a uterus. He doesn't have ovaries. Why? What do you mean? What does he think? Okay. If you have one, and these do exist even now, well, what if your husband still wants kids? Have you had kids yet? What if your husband wants kids? What if you're single? This happens too. I kid you not. You might be a single-ass woman, 35 years old. Okay. No desire for marriage or children, and especially after 35, because then you're considered geriatric. Geriatric pregnancy with all kinds of associated risks. And you go in and you get it done. Get that uterus out of there. There are doctors in the US of America who still exist, and not just in Tennessee, who will say, but what if your someday husband wants kids? Like, what can I do but laugh? Because it's so, What if your someday husband wants kids? Have you thought about that? When you're bleeding all the time and nearly hemorrhaging each month? Have you thought about this future might exist man that might want children? When you are in the throes of agony, ready to jump off a cliff or the nearest tall enough building because of the horror that you live with every month. And with endometriosis, that you live with that shit every day, every bowel movement. But as you're in those throes of agony, have you thought about this guy out there somewhere? He might want kids. Like, god damn. This still happens. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. It still happens. And oh my god, if you go in before the age of 30, oh Jesus Lord. Now, there is something to be said for life experience, your mind changing. I've said on here a million times, I was never going to have kids. I grew up in a family of 8 kids. I became a nanny of 4 kids at 19. And I said I was not having children. I was going to be this businesswoman. I was going to live in the city, When I was 19 or 20 years old, I absolutely believed that. I didn't go and have a full or partial hysterectomy or even my tubes tied at 19 or 20 years old. Okay. But your frontal lobe, I know everyone talks about this now, but your frontal lobe is fully developed at age 25. After age 25, you start to know, okay, this is who I am. This is who I'm becoming. These are kind of my thoughts and whatever. Do you know 100% who you are at 25? No, you don't. I didn't know 100% who I was until about 35, 36. That's when it really hit me. That's when I left religion. Incidentally, that's about the same time that I had my partial hysterectomy. Maybe there's a connection there. I don't know. But anyway, that's when I really started to learn who I was. Who is Julie? Who is this person? What do I want in life? You know, I really started to understand, you know, here's what I believe. Here is all those kinds of things. I had also had further education by that time. There was a lot more to it. Okay. More life experience. Obviously, as you experience life, as you age, you're going to learn more. You're going to learn more about yourself. Of course. But that doesn't mean that you don't know enough by the age of 30 to make some big decisions. If you can't make big decisions for your own ass body by the age of 30, what's even the point? What's even the point of anything? You can serve and die for your country by then. Okay, well, can I make decisions about my own organs by then at least, please? Because I could go and, you know, get a leg blown off overseas. No one asks, is my future husband going to be okay with me losing a leg, you know, over in the desert somewhere? Well, what if your husband wanted a woman who had 2 legs? Okay, like, I can choose if I can drink, smoke, vape, do legal and even illegal drugs, depending on, you know, the situation. When I'm saying, I mean, you can't really choose if you can do illegal drugs, but the point is, by the age of 30, you should know enough about who you are, where you're headed, what you believe, to be able to make that kind of decision. If you can, at the age of 18, decide, I'm going to strap on a ginormous rifle, throw on some fatigues, and head overseas to pew-pew and get pew-pewed at. If you can make that decision at 18, pretty sure you should be allowed to make a decision about your reproductive system by the age of 30. Don't you think? I kind of think that. But you will still, and the point of all that is to say, that is another situation that you will encounter. Before the age of 30, the average standard, especially in a red state, a conservative state, a right-leaning state, you are going to deal with doctors who don't want to jump into it. Again, it is huge. It is life-changing, life-altering. Yes. And it's dangerous. It's got so many risks. It does. Absolutely true. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to, you know, I wear pink shirts on Mondays for Menopause Mondays, but I am not going to rose color anything. Not on here. I might joke about it because gallows humor, you know, you could bleed out. Anyway, so you literally, actually, you might bleed out before you're allowed the choice to take out your own uterus. Anyway, so you will encounter these doctors if you are under the age of 30, and especially not married. You will encounter so much resistance. And it's not just in red states, right states, conservative areas. You can encounter this anywhere, okay? Where they're going to say, okay, but you know, you don't know yet. You don't know yet. Granted, like I just explained, there's a lot you won't know until you're older. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. There are things you're not going to know till you're older. But again, if you know enough at 18 to jump on a cargo ship and head off to parts unknown to do and experience terrible, horrific things that you'll never 100% recover from, that will affect your future husband, maybe you can make this decision too. Now, it isn't just the husband this phantasm husband out there somewhere that might exist. It's age. And that's what I'm talking about. If you're younger than 30, you will have legit ass doctors sitting there looking at you and saying, but Julie, you're only 27. You don't know yet. You don't know what might happen next year, a few years. I've had so many people tell me these experiences and situations that they have been through. Single women. Next year, you might meet so-and-so, so-and-so. And you might decide you want to have a baby with him. You don't know who you'll be 5 years from now. Again, at 18, you don't know your ass from your elbow about life, about your body, about almost anything. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for being here. But you're still allowed to go risk your life. I hate when people say this, but I'm going to say it here, and it actually fits. Make it make sense. Hi, Irma. Thanks so much for being here. You can't, oh, but in this case, and in this case, no. No. You do not pass go. You do not win the washer and dryer combo. No. Will you, is there a chance you'll regret it? Absolutely. Absolutely, that's a chance. You might, it could happen. You might get to, 32, and you might meet some fantastical, magnificent, oh my God, look at him, you're drooling, he's amazing, he's a catch, he's everything that you've ever wanted, and oh my God, we would make the most beautiful baby together, and I want so badly to create a child with him. That could happen. It could. All kinds of things are possible. Are they likely? Who knows? You could regret it, certainly. But I would also say, to go back to my other comparison, my other line of logic, you could be out in the desert, as my brother said, sleeping in a desert ditch. I have two combat veteran brothers, Marines. You could be lying there in a desert ditch, and that's your bed for 2 months, and in those 2 months you also never shower. You could be lying there regretting some choices too, couldn't you? But there's no getting out. Well, unless of course you decide you're gay or trans or insane. I guess now there's more ways to get out than there have been for a few years. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic for a different day, not a pink day. So regrets happen. Life is a series of experiences and regrets. There is a possibility that you will change your mind. But if you are bleeding so much every month that you're in the hospital, getting blood transfusions, getting IV drips, if you are in such horrific pain that Midol and Pamprin and Aleve are not doing a damn thing for you, and you're now on narcotics and muscle relaxers, if you are married, have kids, well into your married and grown-up life with your Mr. Wonderful, with your children, and you are on birth control because goddamn it, you don't want any more kids, you can't handle any more kids, you can't afford any more kids, and you're still getting pregnant and then having horrific miscarriages, maybe we shouldn't have to jump through 25 different hoops. People will say, oh, well, get your tubes tied. Guess what? That's not a guarantee either. It is an incredibly rare situation, but yes, you can still get pregnant with tubes tied. You will still have a period with your tubes tied. You are still going to suffer and bleed every month with your tubes tied. Every month. Every month. every month. Endometriosis, still going to be a struggle. So I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to, well, what is your intention? What is your purpose in, hi, Rita. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. What is it you're trying to get out of taking out the uterus? And should that even matter? Yes, it should. Let me explain. I'm a women can make their own damn choices about their own damn body kind of a woman. Okay. We're not idiots. We're not. And we're the ones that live with all this. Thank you. But I will say it is never something to jump into. Never something to jump into. You need to have some serious discussions with yourself and with one or more. Have more. Find more. Okay. Doctors, professionals. Okay. It is never something to jump into. Again, it is major surgery. It is life-altering surgery. Even if it's just tubes tied, even if it's just partial hysterectomy, then if it's full hysterectomy, those are all major surgeries where you got to sign papers. You got to sign papers for any surgery because every surgery is a risk. Every single one is a risk. But especially when you're taking parts out, when you are changing and altering systems that have been going on in your body since you were, 11 to 14 to 16, somewhere in there, whenever your system started up, you're altering these systems that have been in place, that have been a product of evolution for possibly millions of years. You're altering that. So it's going to change things. Now, there's going to be benefits and there's going to be some major drawbacks. And we'll talk about more of them in future Menopause Mondays when I wear my pink shirts. It is something to think through. Same as, what could it be? What could it be? Joining the military, our other comparison, okay? Our other line of logic. These are things you need to think through. You need to talk to people. You need to come watch this and listen to these seasoned ladies who are going to share their experiences and tell you their stories and give some insight into the reality of it. You're going to get differing opinions. You're going to get differing experiences, but you're going to get experiences that will inform your decision. Same with joining the military. Go talk to some veterans. Go check out, what's available to me after the military? What's available to me if I end up losing my mind? And I don't mean to put that flippantly, but it happens. What's out there for me if my legs get blown off? What's out there for my family if I don't come home? Suss it out. Same with making life-changing decisions about your body. Get information, get lots of information. Depending on what your reason, your purpose for having any of these surgeries, whether it's your tubes tied, whether it's your partial or then full hysterectomy, or getting there's like ablations and cauterizing. There's all kinds of things that can be done. Think about, what is my purpose for doing this? And then explore every other available option for your own benefit, not because there might be some imaginary man that you're going to find 10 years from that time that wants babies and you got to make sure he's happy by risking your life bringing babies into the world and all of that so that you make him happy. You need to make sure you can, do that. No, that's bullshit. No. You're doing all of this research. You're checking out all of these potential options, not to jump through all the hoops. Oh my God, the hoops that so many doctors will require you to jump through, that several insurances will require you to jump through. No. You are doing all of this exploration, all of this research, all of that for your own benefit, for your own safety, for your well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally. You're doing all of this for your health, for the health of your future, not the future of some random guy that can get you pregnant. And then what if he can't even get you pregnant? You ever think about that? You might have held off and suffered and struggled, and then he can't even get you pregnant. I mean, if we're going with theoreticals and maybes and possibilities and ifs, well, let's consider all of them. Yeah, you might meet the man of your dreams, and guess what? He might not even want kids. He might already have kids. And he might not even be able to get you pregnant. So if we're going to go on theoreticals and possibilities and maybe someday, let's consider all of those maybes. You know, just to be fair. If you do all the research, if you have said, okay, yep, vale la pena, this is the way to go, it is worth the risks, it is worth the potential side effects, struggles, cramps, continued endometriosis, whatever else, PMS that makes you feel like you're crazy because you haven't felt it in 6 months and then all of a sudden it pops up out of nowhere, as happened to me this last week. You've decided, okay, I have all the information. I have talked to so many women that went through natural menopause, people that went through forced menopause, people that had partial hysterectomies, people that had their tubes tied. I've done the research. I am ready to make this decision about my one and only body that I will ever have, and it is the right decision for me. Find a doctor that will do it for you. And you might have to go through a few. You might. But like I was talking about, there is this doctor, this female obstetrician on TikTok who has been compiling a list. And I wish I had had it prepared ahead of time for this, but I didn't even think of it till I started talking. It didn't even, whatever. But anyway, who has been compiling a list of providers across the country, in the US of America is where we're talking about. I mean, elsewhere, I still say do the same, do all the research. Do all the research, talk to all the people before you make any big decisions, but your healthcare system is obviously going to be different than here. And so I can't speak to that. But Google, start looking, get on TikTok. I know it's TikTok, but get on there if this is something that you need in your life, to find this list, this compiled list of providers across the country who will not make you jump through all the hoops, who will let you be a grown-up and have autonomy and control over your own body. Get in touch with one of them, but don't jump into it willy-nilly, same as you shouldn't with anything. Think it out. If you do have a spouse, a life partner, that talk about it. Obviously talk about it. Of course, talk about it. If he decides he wants to go get some of his guts taken out and some of his parts and this and that and whatever, you would hope he talked to you about it, wouldn't you? Yeah, of course. Talk about it. Have respect for each other. Okay? Good night, Kathy. I'm so glad you could join us. Discuss it. It's important. You could die. He could die walking out the front door tomorrow morning. That possibility is there. Of course it is. Talk about everything. I mean, if you're sharing your life with someone, you should be talking about a lot of stuff anyway, right? And you should be comfortable being able to talk this stuff out and figure out where each other is coming from, okay? And then willing to consider the other's wants and needs, but not feeling forced into accommodating the other person's wants and needs. Ideally, you will have discussed and set in stone before you commit to each other what your childbearing situation is going to be. Obviously, minds can change, hearts can change, circumstances can change. I have a cat. Who knew that was going to happen? I'm terribly allergic, and I did not need or want a cat. James was never going to allow a furry animal in this house. Here we are, we have a cat. Okay, things do change. But you should have autonomy over your own body. At the end of the day, you should be able to make this choice. An informed choice is what I would recommend, but even if you want to go into it willy-nilly, you should be allowed to make that choice. It takes almost nothing to get married. Almost nothing. Almost nothing. It takes almost nothing to sign on the dotted line for the military anymore. Yeah, they got to do it physical, and they hopefully will do a, mental exam and stuff like that. But it's not... Ugh. Know your risks. Know if they're worth it. If you are suffering, if you are struggling, or even if you're not suffering and you're not struggling and you are just making the grown adult choice to not have a uterus in your life, you should be allowed to make that decision. So find a doctor that will work with you on making that decision. But then please know, you are the one that lives with the consequences, okay? I want to make sure I really get that in there. When talking about things getting out of there, you live with the consequences. Your family, your partner, also potentially live with the consequences, okay? So really suss it out, think it out, but also don't allow anyone to tell you that you shouldn't do it because of this, that you can't do it because of this. Get all the information, know the risks, know the benefits, and then make your choice from there. Make an informed decision. And know that, back to the title and the point of this whole video, know that you can still have PMS. Like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that about? You can still have PMS? Well, yeah, because you've got a hypothalamus, a thyroid, a pituitary, and all of them, they're still going. If you're lucky, my thyroid's a little low. They're still pumping. They're still producing. They're still sending stuff out there, and it's still making some stuff happen. And I had no idea that any of those had anything to do with PMS. I don't have the science behind it, the biology behind it. I don't have any of that. I only know it is happening. I'm living it. And my doctor said, yeah, you still have these other things producing hormones. So yeah, that can still happen. Well, that's nice to know now. Do the research. Do your research. Ask the questions. Ask so many questions. If they have the right to make you jump through 80, 100 hoops and consider a potentially non-existent male being somewhere out in the world that just might enter your life in the next 15 years, if they can do that, then you can take their time that you're paying for and get answers, solid answers to every single one of your questions. Take up space, take up time, demand time and space, demand answers to your questions. But don't only rely on one person to give you the answers to those questions. Get other opinions, ideally professional opinions, sure, certainly, but also experienced opinions. They are both valid. They are both so valid. You do want people who have a working knowledge of human anatomy. Absolutely. But you also want people with a lived knowledge of human anatomy, specifically female anatomy. You see? They work in concert. They work best together. See? They work good together. Okay? Get both. I wish I had. I wish I had been assertive enough and not so desperate as I was. It's like when you go grocery shopping when you're hungry. It's just not good. It's not good. Okay? I wish I had asked all the questions. I wish I had done all the research. I wish I had spoken to all the women. I didn't. And now I get surprises here and there of the different things that are happening in my body. And again, do I regret it? No. No, I don't. Not at all. No. I only regret not being prepared, not having the knowledge, not knowing what to look forward to, even the rarest of possibilities, because like I said, if it's weird and it's rare, it's going to happen to me. So of course, it'll happen to other people too. And I wish I would have known. I do. But I don't regret it. No. Nope. 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 Anyway, we are over an hour, but that we got everything covered that I wanted to cover tonight, I do think. But I will mention, even though I had the whole PMS menagerie this last week, I didn't have cramps. There were no cramps. So that's awesome. We haven't had any more of that in a while. Though, like I said, the endometriosis has come back. And so, of course, you know, I'm not exactly, you know, living on easy street that way, but at least not like menstrual adjacent cramps. So that's nice. Ow. Oh, God. I'm really liking this. I am loving this. I feel so, so free, you know? So like, I don't know. I'm able to just, within monetization guidelines, obviously, but I'm able to just talk and share and, you know. I wish I would have done this sooner over here. But I didn't have it in me and it wasn't the right time. It just wasn't. And I didn't have my little recording set up here. So, excuse me. So it's all good. That's all good. But I am just really enjoying this. Yeah. And wearing pink. I'm really liking wearing pink. I might even do my face and like do something with my hair for you next time. We'll see. I don't know exactly what we will be discussing next time. I would love to have any of your suggestions or requests in regards to menopause and, you know, kind of whatever around it leading up to it and thereafter and the procedure of it and the, you know, one that we could talk. Ooh, okay. Just kidding. I already have my answer. You guys are such a good sounding board. I should put that on a shirt. If we ever make merch for this channel, that is what it's going to say. You are such a good sounding board. That's what it's going to say. But hysterectomies and the different types and the procedures involved, whether it's, you know, opening up your guts or it's laparoscopic or, you know, vaginal or what have you. There's so many things. Again, stuff that I didn't know enough about. That's what we're talking about next week. The actual nuts and bolts of the procedures themselves and what all is involved, what that entails. The recovery period. Good God, the recovery period. And again, that depends on the person. It's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but there are some generalizations, some things that, you know, kind of do run across the board of the average. But then there's some other stuff that you should be prepared for, that you should know about. That's what we're talking about next week. Yep. The actual procedure. Or procedures. There's a few of them. That's what we're going to do next week. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to prepare a little bit. I'm going to have some key points written out, some notes. Make sure that I hit all the of what I want. Yeah. Maybe even have some like professional resources pulled up on the laptop ready to go. We'll see. But that's what we're talking about next week. So please come prepared. But also, if you have things that you want to talk about on Mondays, we're talking about other stuff on different days, but Monday specifically, we're wearing pink on Mondays. I know it's so incredibly a gender norm and a construct, but we're doing it anyway. And because I love pink. Other things that you want to talk about, you want to discuss, you want to ask questions about, whatever, get the community knowledge about when it's anything to do with the female menstrual system and everything that goes with it and thereafter. That's what we're doing on Mondays. So please tell me, what are the things? Put them in the comments. I would love to talk about them. I would adore. What's it like in the bedroom after all that? We'll talk about that too. We will talk about that too. We'll get there. That one, again, can be different for everybody, but we're going to talk about that because that is also really important. So anyway, all right. Have a beautiful night. Have a wonderful week. I will be live streaming again tomorrow. I do not know what time yet. It'll just be more of a hangout because I don't have anything set up really beyond Mondays. I have some idea for Wednesdays, but really Mondays are the ones that are, I'm like, it's menopause and everything related to it's all of that. That is Mondays. The rest, I want to keep live streaming every single day over here, but it's going to be a little bit different every week, or a little bit different while I figure out kind of a schedule, which probably won't happen until the kids are back in school next month. And after our like anniversary road trip and all of that, I'll try to get, maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll kind of see how we feel it out, see how we all, what we're all thinking and how we're all experiencing it and what our thoughts are. If we need to have a specific topic for each day of the week, I don't think we actually do, to be honest. I think we do need to have one, for sure one, but the rest of the days, I don't know, they might just be hanging out. You might just be doing chores with me. I don't know, but we're going to figure it out together. Rita, you're a good one too. You guys have a beautiful evening. I will see you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Have your little bell things set to all, and be looking in the community posts because that is most likely where I will announce what time we are going to get together tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow, I'm thinking there'll probably be coffee involved. I'm just thinking that. All right. You're great. You're special. You're valuable. You're wonderful. And I'm so grateful for you. Good night.